So it's you, Heron, Blunt, and Goodwin, all hands-on trying to help the patient, correct?
That's correct.
At this point in time, have you recognized the patient as anyone that you're familiar with?
No, I haven't even looked.
You haven't looked at the patient at all?
No, I've looked at the patient, but I didn't really look at the whole face. I was busy.
At some point, did you learn that the patient that was on the floor that you were treating was, in fact, Michael Jackson?
I did.
Heron is doing CPR. Describe that for me, please. What
Heron,
you observed.
Standard. He's a big, strong man. He leaned over and started doing chest compressions immediately.
One hand or two-handed?
Two-handed.
When the EKG machine is connected and taking a reading, what information would be conveyed through that EKG machine?
The EKG machine shows the electrical activity of the heart.
Would that mean whether there's a heartbeat or not?
Yes.
And if there's not a heartbeat, is it a flat line?
Yes.
Did you look at the reading on the EKG machine once it was hooked up to Mr. Jackson's chest?
Yes, I did.
What did you see on the screen?
Asystole.
What does that mean?
Flat line.
At the point when you administered one round of starter drugs and reported back to base station, was there any change in Mr. Jackson's condition from your time of arrival until you update UCLA with his condition?
No change at all.
And then at a later point in the treatment, after the first round, you are conveying his condition again, correct?
That's correct.
Had there been any change in Mr. Jackson's condition at this point?
No change.
So you're speaking with UCLA and you're speaking to a doctor through the nurse, correct?
Yes.
And you're advising the base station that there's been no change, so you have no heart activity, no change in respiration, no other changes in Mr. Jackson's condition, and upon conveying that information to the base station, they in turn ask you, what do you want to do, correct?
That's correct.
Was it UCLA's information conveyed to you that they were prepared to cease efforts to resuscitate Mr. Jackson?
Yes, that's correct.
And the reason for cessation of efforts would be that essentially Mr. Jackson was dead. Is that correct?
That's correct. I told my crew to continue ventilations to stop CPR.
And continue ventilations means that the assistance of breath from Mr. Jackson would continue, but the compressions, the up and down motion on Mr. Jackson's chest would cease, correct?
That's correct.
And what was your determination once those requests or orders were followed?
The monitor, the heart monitor, it was a clean, flat line.
And what does that mean to you, Mr. Senneff?
It means the heart was not functioning electrically. And
Basically, that means no heart.
Wait, the witness was saying, and?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That means it was not functioning electrically, so I didn't feel that there could be a pulse. I then checked for a pulse myself, and also one of the other firefighters checked for a pulse.
What were the results of your checking for a pulse?
I did not feel one at all.
Did you attempt to feel the pulse in the same area of the femoral area that Dr. Murray claimed he felt a pulse?
Yes, I did.
And did you say that another individual of your rescue team also attempted to verify that Mr. Jackson had a pulse?
Yes, that's true.
Who was that?
I believe it was paramedic Blunt.
And did you receive any affirmative or positive information from any other member of your team that they felt a pulse?
No, I did not.